What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Pancis. If it's your first time tuning in, please be sure to smash that subscribe button. If not, thanks for your continued support. I have a great update, a good one, sad one, but if the title of the video didn't give it away, or this thumbnail, we are with my 2000, I don't even know how many cars I have here, 1998 BMW E36 M3, and it is a really cheap purchase that I made about 2 months ago. The car's been sitting most of the time, but we've done the tires and a couple of odds and ends since we purchased the car. We got a tech inspection for the track, and let me tell you, I brought it to the track and man, did things not end well. So let's hop into it. I'll give you guys the full rundown here. Alright, so as you guys can see, since the last time we were in this car, I put a racing steering wheel on, and I moved my horn button right here. Boop, boop. Let me turn the key on here. Yep. But as you guys can see here, we have a check coolant level, which is great. Alright. And that's the only one that we have here, but man, what a rough time on the track, guys, let me tell you. So we actually blew a brake line. Just gonna start it right off there. I boiled the brake fluid. I think that happened because we have really cheap brake pads on the car, and I never changed the ones that were put on there, but clearly not a good compound for racing. So when they talk about, when you guys are pricing out pads for your cars, I mean, this is a really good lesson for you. I mean, cheap pads may be cheap, but when it comes to actual performance, they will fail your car. So I actually boiled the brake fluid, and the reason why I know that I did was because when we were coming off the track the one time, this thing was overflowing with fluid, and that is because it got so freaking hot that of course it boiled, and that is not a good sign. So as they were flushing the system, we actually blew out a brake line. Now I'm not sure if the brake line was leaking already prior to that, because I had really spongy fluid. They thought maybe there was air in the line, all sorts of different things. So they kept, we cycled through like 2 bottles. So clearly a leaky brake line. And of course, as you guys see in the video clip here and in the images that I'm showing on the screen, you can see underneath the car had seen some better days. So here we are back home. I limped the car. I had no brakes. I limped the car over to a local shop to the track, and luckily they were able to get the car up on the lift, and we fixed it within an hour, which was absolutely amazing. Man, the car is so polleny, I can just taste it in my throat. So excuse me if I am sounding raspy here. It is very green outside here in the spring. So anyways, we got to the shop. They were able to fix the line, and of course I drove the car home. Luckily, no issues. And here we are a week later, and I turned the car on the other day for the first time. I did smell a scent of coolant on the track when I was racing in between sessions. I had about 3 or 4 sessions before this went down, and I didn't think anything of the coolant. Maybe I just was thinking, maybe it was an old coolant leak smell, I don't know. But anyways, I'm here, luckily made it home, no problem, no overheating issues, and we have a check coolant level. So when you open up this level, there is a low fluid. So I'm gonna go through the system. I also ordered, the hoses look new, so I don't know what's going on there. But I did order a new set off of FCP Euro for belts. So we have new belts and belt tensioners that we're gonna put on there. So all this stuff in time here in the next couple weeks. But man, this car seems to be a true project car, guys. I mean, one thing to the next, I guess that's expected for these old cars, which is fine. So in the interim, since you guys saw the pictures underneath, I'm gonna redo both brake lines on the rear and also the return and feed line on the fuel line. They all have a little bit of rust. They're old, they're probably original to the car, so we're gonna switch those out. And then I'm gonna start to probably treat some of the rust areas. It's really not that bad on the body of the car. It really isn't. The worst part is the subframe, and I think that can just be replaced. We can replace that easily. And the body itself actually seems pretty good. Like if I look at the trailing arms, I know that's a weak point on these cars. It actually looks, I mean, there's some surface rust there, but I think if I were to go in there and upgrade it with the plates and have a shop sand down grind down some of the surface rust and weld that thing on and paint it and make sure it doesn't get rusted again, I think the car is pretty solid. Really, I do. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple different opinions on it all. But in the interim, today I'm gonna take this thing for a quick ride. I'm gonna fill this up with, actually I'm not gonna fill this up with coolant. I'm gonna leave it because I think we have enough in there, and drive the car and see if we can spot the coolant leak. So good news is you guys can still see some coolant at the bottom of this reservoir. So whatever the leak is, it's not a fast leak by any means. So I'm gonna top this thing up with water because I can, and we're gonna drive it around, see what's going on, and then just inspect for any coolant leaking. All right guys, so we are officially on the road here, getting the temp gauge up. Coolant light is now off, now that I topped out with water. And I will also add to this, guys, before we went to the track, we did have a tech inspection, so they did not say anything about the lines. Maybe it was missed over or not looked at. But however, we did, I went on the track knowing that I had some rear bushings shot on the trailing arms. The lower control arms have some shoddy bushings. So we had some extra movement in the wheels, but it didn't affect the drive. So we were okay to go on course, obviously not to go overboard with the car. So that was a known fault. So in the interim, one of the next upcoming episodes on this car, we're going to be replacing those rear lower control arm outer bushings with polyurethane bushings, which should help also stiffen the ride of the car and also reduce any future fails on those bushings. So outside of these issues, guys, which seem to continue to amount, which is kind of a standard thing for an old BMW M3, but I also paid such a cheap price that it makes sense that these issues are happening, because I paid like 50% off the market, so of course something had to be wrong with the car, right? And so, taking it to the track allowed us to really see the weak points of the car, and I'm sure we'll continue to see other weak points in the future, but for now, we at least really honed in on some real weak points, and we're gonna address it before I go to the track again. I mean, it has to happen, otherwise we have bigger issues. So what I was trying to say is actually, like, on the highway itself, driving and cruising this thing, it was actually really awesome and comfortable. This is a 5-speed manual, not a 6-speed. These earlier models had a 5-speed manual, and I will say, driving at, let's say, 75, 80 miles an hour, your RPM gauges are sitting just over 3,000 RPM, and the way my arms are rested with the armrest here and on the door card here, like, I don't know, I felt like I was in a really nice, chill, comfortable position. Speaking of which, I could probably move the seat back a little bit since I'm not racing on the track. But anyways, I had like my arm like this, holding the steering wheel on the highway, and I don't know, a really awesome cruiser. Really comfortable to just sit here and cruise and drive. These seats are not ideal for track use, so I'm probably gonna at some point put them up for sale and get some racing seats in here. But I'd rather like work through the car first, make sure it's a car I'm keeping before we continue to do all that. But yeah, the car on the highway was freaking awesome, really awesome, and ran really good. So I wanted to share that, because as I drive the car, more and more you learn more and more about it, right? So when you buy these things, you don't really know what the hell you're getting into, so it's nice to be able to figure it out. Alright guys, so now I am back here. And I don't smell any coolant, of course. So weird. So the other thing I want to check too is our oil level. See how much oil we're burning. So, see how well this thing handles. Oil looks good. And I know where it was before I left on the dipstick, so we'll see how much oil we're burning. And it's not losing, it didn't lose a single ounce of oil, which is pretty amazing, guys. Right where I left it, right where I filled it on the original oil change. So that's a really awesome sign. So I'm definitely smelling some coolant on this side, I feel like. Alright guys, so I can show you what I found. I have a feeling we're leaking a water pump. If you look, there's fluid there, and there's a little fluid here. And if you look center of the engine, right above the crank is where the water pump lives. So I'm wondering if it's dripping down from both sides here. Now, I don't smell coolant anymore. That's what's crazy. I don't smell it right now. But this is the underneath. I don't think it's that bad, this car. It's pretty clean for the age. Pull some fresh material in here. I don't know. Should be all right. All right, guys. So that is the latest and greatest update for you on this E36 M3. I'm gonna go ahead and order the water pump. It's $50 off FCP Euro, and probably based on what my research shows, maybe like 2 hours of labor. And if I'm gonna go ahead and do the serpentine belt and all of the tensioners and all that stuff, it's probably a good time to just go ahead and knock that out since it's all right in the same spot. So that's the latest and greatest update for you guys. Not the best outcome for the first track day, but I think it was a great learning experience, as I mentioned previously in the video. So I'm excited to say that, and good things gonna come with this thing. We're gonna get it right, and it's a project car, right? We bought it cheap for a reason, to make it right. I'll race it a couple seasons, maybe I'll sell it. Oh man, the pollen. Stay tuned for the next video, guys. Thanks for watching this one. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.